Hey family, how you guys doing? Welcome to Phie.Love Intuitive Conversations. I hope you guys are good. Yeah. If you like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, if there's any negativity, if there's any hate, please do keep that on your side of the street, okay? Won't be acknowledged. Cool. So let's get into our topic today. I've been guided by Spirit today to get into the topic around us taking some time to really go within, right? Go within and be honest with ourselves. And think about what over our lifetimes have we chosen to identify with that the system has put forward in front of us to choose from? What have we identified with and picked up and dropped and gotten extremely attached to and allowed to move us into certain directions and spaces and places, and grouping up with certain people and things in society? What have you chosen off of the plate that the system has offered you? Which generally everything you choose on the plate is means that you're also completely neglecting yourself, right? You can't choose what the system is offering and choose yourself at the same time. It doesn't work that way. What have you been made to identify with, and where are you comfortably existing in the disconnect? What do you mean, Phie? So I was born to a German mother, a white German lady, right? I was born in Berlin, and the man who I saw as my father was a Tanzanian African man. And the journey with identity for me, and I'm probably any other biracial people out there, has been quite a dynamic one. It's been dynamic. It's been challenging. It's a life experience that teaches you to really face the experience and the feeling of rejection, of not feeling a part, of even isolation at times. And then other times, when you go through your phases of thinking you resonate with certain people in society, because I know for myself throughout my journey, during different phases of my life, I found myself resonating with different kinds and different groups of people, where I would see maybe an aspect of myself in them. But sure enough, it gets to the point where you realize, or when reality hits, and suddenly you're not this enough, or you're not that enough, right? Or you think you're too good because of A, B, and C, or your hair is like this, or who are you? What are you? You talk funny. Are you German? Are you Tanzanian? Who do you resonate with, right? Are you what your father is? Are you what your mother is? All these things that come across, that over time, you start taking on as pressures and trying to figure out which one are you going to identify with. Who do you identify with most? And if I identify with them, why doesn't it look like I'm as accepted and accepting of it like people who are of that? like I said, it's a really dynamic experience to go through, and one that over my journey with it, got to a point where, you know, when it was time for my awakening in more than just one aspect of my life, spirit sat me down and really dealt with me, and you know, to put it blatantly, spirit's words to me were to not bother myself with the things the system has created for the people that the system labels as its peasants. Okay, don't get wrapped up in peasantry mindset. And I couldn't understand immediately what that meant. Don't get wrapped up in peasantry mindsets. Whatever these things, these labels, and these areas of society, and whatever they've constructed for us to want to, you know, place ourselves in, and, you know, play against each other or play for each other, you know, all of these things were things created by a system that viewed the people as peasants, right? And not as individual beings. It wasn't made with anything of love. And every time I kind of move into a space of, you know, wondering about the identity thing again, spirit would always ask me, so are you a peasant? Are you a peasant? You have people out here. I mean, it started opening my eyes up to recognizing, and I was suddenly able to see people, you know, fighting to identify with black, and, you know, people feeling like it's different when you start taking an observer's perspective to it all, and not operating trying to be a part of what it is that everybody else is existing in, right? You have people who fight to identify with the labels that an oppressor, that a system has put on them to divide and to conquer and to control. We have people who fight about what kind of black person they are, when really they're brown, and, you know, instead of going within and looking within themselves, what it is that they're made out of, what is their spirit and their energy, you know, guide them to express in this world. They choose to try and find their identity and their meaning and their belonging with a label a system has given them. I hope what I'm saying is making sense. That's the disconnect I'm talking about. Why are we so unaware? Why are people so unaware that they're fighting to identify with things that were used to actually harm them, things that were used as tools by slave masters to control them, to utilize and use their energy, to break them down? These are the things that people are fighting to find a way to identify with, trying to find empowerment and encouragement and pride by identifying with labels and ways of being that have been created and put out to them by a system, and rejecting each other and creating their own little subdivisions and meanings of the labels that the system has given them, to try and, you know, fall into another layer of brainwashing and believing that that's some form of authentic identity. when it's not. It's again trying to align to something that's on the outside. So in seeing all of that, Spirit said, why would you want to belong to any of that? Why would you want to belong to something so nasty and so cruel that most people aren't even aware that they're existing in? Why fight to belong to something that makes you feel ugly, something that makes you feel like you're not a part of another group of people who bleed just like you do? The system was designed for peasants. It may sound harsh, it may sound callous or insensitive, but it's the truth. Why are we fighting to identify with things that were used to make you less? Things that were used to keep you in line? Things that were used to tell you where you belong because they don't see you as anything more than a roach. They don't. I don't care how people want to believe or convince themselves that whatever they exist in, systems and governments and whatever it might be, have some inkling of, have some little stitch of, positive interest in them, when no, they don't. They don't. And it's such a hard thing to swallow, because if you wake up one day and you recognize that you've been, fighting for this, you've been following this, you've been, you've been controlled by this, and you've blindly allowed yourself to somehow resonate with all of that ugly, trying to find positivity and trying to find positivity in struggles that were horrible, that were imposed, and then still trying to breed it forward in future generations, instead of allowing it to just disintegrate and disappear and fall away. Are we going to have another generation of children who identify with the hideous constructs of a system that everybody's been trying to fight against? Everybody's been trying to detach themselves from, to some degree, who does manage to wake up from it. It's a delayering. It's a delayering process. I mean, it's like saying, the devil's going to punish you for doing, or why would the devil punish you for doing the devil's work? That's another one of those disconnects that, I don't think people really take the time to look in and recognize that kind of brainwashing and that kind of mind training and cognitive dissonance has become a complete norm across the board with everything you engage with that comes from the system, that comes from the church, that comes from all things that, are there to keep you in line, are there to keep you in some form of structure on the outside that you need to identify with, you need to look up to, you need to believe in. Why would the devil punish you for doing the devil's work? we fighting to identify with labels like black and white when there's nothing positive, nothing good that's been attached to any of it? But different forms of, programmed lack and making people feel less than and more than one another, using those things. And the disconnect again. None of them are black, none of them are white. I see brown people, I see beige people. Right? But the disconnect is so deep that even when you say, I see brown people and I see beige people, it's brushed off as insignificant, like whatever. And no one sees a problem with that. And so, what are you actually prioritizing? Do you prioritize what you've been? And like, from an individual point of view, okay, don't look at anyone else on the outside of you. Yourself. What are you prioritizing with regards to what you align to? Is what you aligning to on the outside, what makes you feel more apart on the outside, more important than what it is that whatever you're aligning to on the outside is making you feel like, how it's making you reject yourself, how it unconsciously puts you into a place of hating who you are? Something to think about, huh? Do you consider the kind of energy that you put into aligning with things on the outside? That's another aspect of personal neglect. How does it make you feel? Ugly, right? A lot of these things make you feel ugly. It doesn't feel nice to have to, be comfortable, obliviously comfortable in a position of, believing that the white man has it better off than a black man. Or vice versa, depending on where in the world you're living. I mean, in South Africa, it's kind of shifting the other way, right? So, really, just take the time to think about it. And, where can you release? Where can you move your conscience and your perspective into a place that exists above it all and detaches from all of that peasantry way of thinking? Because it was that way of thinking, those social constructs, all those perspectives and things that have been offered to you, they were all offered to you by a system that was looking to utilize you, your energy, and control you. To the system, you are a peasant. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna pull a card from the Trust Your Vibes deck, okay, by Sonia Chuket, and see what Spirit has to offer. One card, please. And see what Spirit has to support our conversation or nudge somebody who's watching the video in a specific direction, okay? May I please have one card, Spirit? Thank you. That's two. This one says, remember to breathe. One thing, Spirit, when Spirit was dealing with me, the one thing that I remember coming over me was the impression, me being told and guided, it's okay to let it all go. It's really okay to release it. It's okay to let all the programming and, all these things that make you feel like, you're a part, that you've attached yourself to unconsciously. It can be scary to, to think that, oh my God, this is what I'm existing in. This is what I've been doing. This is what's been guiding me and moving my life. This is how I've been viewing the world. This is how I've been engaging people. This is how I've been judging myself. Oh my goodness, I've been rejecting myself. When you come to these awakenings and they really hit you deep within your gut, it's jarring. And yes, you need to remember to breathe, because it's a lot to take in, it's a lot to digest. And Spirit said it's okay to let it go. It may be scary because you don't know what's on the other side of not existing in all these things that you've been wrapped up in, not trying to fit in or trying to be a part. What then, right? If I'm not going to do all this stuff that the system has offered me and told me to live by and exist in and be a part of, and restrict myself to and stay in this border and that border and this line and this way, what then? You choose yourself. But it's scary because most people they've lived their whole lives not even looking at themselves, not even choosing their own ideas, trained not to trust themselves. It's a lot to deal with. It is. But it can be done. And like I said, it is a process. And just, remember to breathe. It can't all be handled in one day, in 1 week. It's a process of, unraveling and unraveling. And every time you unravel one layer, you open up your perspective to something else, and you realize, oh my goodness, there's something else I can let go of. There's something else that's been, holding me back and weighing me down. There's something else that's been limiting me. And then comes a moment where you're like, oh my goodness, there's the solution to something that, everything I've been restricting myself to hasn't allowed me to actually see and open myself up to. Remember to breathe, okay? Take a breath, meditate. Meditation, when going through this process of delayering and awakening, meditation is one of the best tools that you could ever have and that we've been given. It doesn't cost a thing. And it helps balance things out. It helps you slow your thoughts down. It helps you, see what's coming by in your mind and what's going, and, it helps you recognize also your own process, your way of thinking, your way of being, how you react, how you respond. Recognize what you're feeling in a moment and how that feeling triggers you into this, moves you into that, pushes you towards that person, right? Or whatever it might be. So, let's see, number 10. Remember to breathe. Okay. My spiritual teacher once said, there are no real emergencies. Take your time. Nothing has to be done immediately, always. Only opportunities and invitations to grow your soul. Some situations feel more intense and urgent than others. but all will be more manageable if you remember to breathe properly. Breathing is the gateway to the sixth sense and receiving higher vibrations. When you hold your breath, you deprive yourself of spirit and enter into a debilitating fear-based state of fight or flight, losing all access to higher awareness. By remembering to breathe slowly and deeply, in through the nose and out through the mouth, you remain connected to the divine guidance and higher protection when you feel in danger or threatened. That's very nice, and I think very supportive and relevant to what we've been talking about. I'm going to pull a card now as well from the Miracle Cards deck by Marianne Williamson. Okay, and see what Spirit has over here to support us or guide her. Support us or give someone a nudge in a specific direction who's watching the video, right? May I please have one card, Spirit? Healing. It's healing, okay. To go inside and try and figure out what it is you identify with. Recognizing the disconnect, that's healing. Because once you recognize the disconnect, you open up yourself to another perspective. If you see the disconnect, if you can recognize, oh my God, well, why didn't I make that connection? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing the shit that doesn't make me feel, that makes me feel ugly? Why have I become comfortable in the ugly feeling of this shit? Because I've been programmed to believe I need to prioritize being a part, being acknowledged, being known, all this other stuff that the system has told, made me believe is more important, and trained me to have these short-lived adrenalines or dopamine spikes, all of that stuff. Once you recognize where you have your disconnect, or where you're existing in the disconnect of all the things that you identify with that have been offered to you by the system from the outside, you start healing, because you learn, you start releasing them old perspectives, right? And you move into a higher perspective. So let's see. As we are healed, the world is healed. Doing anything for a purpose other than love means reliving our original separation from God, then perpetuating and maintaining that split. One thing about the church is, let me not say the church, it's not the church, but religion in general has a tendency to disconnect people from connecting within, and following doctrine. We'll get into that in another video. I don't want to detour now too far. Anyway, family, take the time to heal, remember to breathe, and don't be a peasant, okay? Let's not have another generation of children who are wrapped up in all of this ugly stuff that people have been trying to fight and fight and fight, and empower themselves within the ugliness that they've been programmed into and told is, and and made to believe that what they're attached to and what they've been made to be attached to is all that can exist. It's hogwash. So if we can also, heal and elevate our perspective, we're going to also be able to grow a new generation that isn't going to be polluted and molded by whatever else it is that the system has been doing. And another generation of slaves, another generation of slavery in all its forms. okay. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video, family, okay? Bye.